Sorry, my pants are too tight to actually step up onto the stage. I wanted to look good for y'all today. I'm kind of freaked out here. I'm the stand-in for Mark Darcy. I don't know if you know Mark Darcy, but he's got like an awesome accent, and he's super good looking, and he's way smarter than me. So I'm going to do the best that I can. I brought my notes because I've been kind of brain farting a lot recently. This is a whole deal about, brand. What is it about? Disruption and reinvention. And, that's kind of been my life of late, working for about 17 years at the same place and then trying to do something different. And I got to say, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be to kind of change and start over. Coming to New York has been exciting. I always thought I would try to avoid New York for my entire career. Was that possible? I thought everybody kind of had Stockholm syndrome when they said how much they loved it here, and I'm happy to find out how much I love it here. It's been really awesome. It's been amazing. So anyway, that's my story. And I don't know if you heard Fernando talk, but that was crazy. That was really inspiring to hear what he had to say about brands, and hopefully I can begin to echo that from this new perspective that I'm bringing. So anyway, I'm Andrew Keller. I'm a global creative director at Facebook's Creative Shop. And I wanted to talk to you today about 6 insanely amazing, game-changing things I've learned since joining Facebook. My trick is if you can't come up with one word, just write a whole bunch of them, and then it sounds a lot more creative. This is kind of the first real obvious thing that dawned on me. When I started, I was completely overwhelmed, by the technology, the updates. There was a new version of everything coming out. There were new products all the time. And with every product, and that was just when I started. Literally, the day I started, it seemed like 3 new products came out. And with every new product that came out, there's executional considerations and there's best practices. And you become very hyper-focused around all those elements. Like, what does it mean, sound on, sound off? What happens in the first couple seconds of something? And how are we going to think about this next new technology? And I found myself becoming very focused in on that. And the reality is that I had to kind of pull back. I really had to pull back and recenter around the fact that, really what we're trying to do is create great ideas. At the center of everything is a great idea, that creativity is creativity, storytelling is storytelling. Don't get distracted by the technology. And that was something that I really had to kind of make myself really pause and think about. The great news is that technology ultimately is there to optimize a great idea, whether it's to make it more actionable or shareable or maybe make it easier to produce or easier to distribute, but ultimately it's there to support that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't get overwhelmed by the things that I'm going to show you next, which is just to say the creative spaces, usually that plays, but this is the first time I've ever done this deck, so who knows what's going to happen. It doesn't make any sound normally, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, the point is, video really wasn't on Facebook until about 2014. And so when you think about mobile and the creative spaces that have become available, it's kind of a big deal because we all understand video. We all know how to work with video. And so, yes, we can get caught up in executional considerations around video and say, we should capture somebody's attention in the first 5 seconds and all these things that are very important. But in the end, I'd like to think that the new creative spaces are about making it so that we can be more idea-centric than executional-centric. So there's lots of things, killing it next door. There's still time. This doesn't get better. It stays about the same. Okay, there it went. Carousel, have you ever seen Carousel? A lot of this stuff was kind of new to me digging into Facebook. It's who knows, it's probably been around for a while, but like the ability to put images, videos, and make gatefold magazine-esque features on Facebook. The newest thing here is Canvas. This really just launched actually back at Cannes, but it's been rolling out slowly. And Canvas is this incredible immersive platform within Facebook. I mean, it's in the feed. You click on it, and in 1 second it pops open. There's almost no load time. In fact, there is no load time on it. And you're able to combine images and videos and really create a deep immersive experience. It's a real multimedia kind of vibe. And it's just beautiful and elegant the way it flows and moves. And this kind of creative space available on mobile is just something that gets me really excited. The other thing is it doesn't take a developer, a whole development team to kind of create Canvas. I mean, you can literally create them on Facebook. It's like building a blog essentially. And then you can actually push it right out to your phone, which is great for comping. But super simple to make, but the impact is huge about the depth and beauty that you can reach straight out of feed. Bots in Messenger, you probably saw this. We're not quite ready for brands yet. I should caution you about that, but it's good to start thinking about what it might look like as you engage brands. These are some bots. Poncho's a weather bot, CNN, I've been using to send me information, and I tried to buy something on spring, but I'm generally indecisive, so I couldn't make a decision about what shoes to get. I'm working on a bot, like a concepting bot, just because I figure if I steal his ideas, he won't complain, or she. That was a joke. Thank you for the laugh. Badonks. Live. Maybe you saw this. BuzzFeed has kind of done the biggest live event on Facebook. But what does it mean for your brands to do live? What's that going to be like? We're not fully ready for that, but it's a good thing to start thinking about. This had at its peak, it was 45 minutes long, had about 800,000 viewers at its peak. It ended up with about 10 million views. I think it took, let me see here, it took, spoiler alert, 700 rubber bands wrapped around the watermelon to finally explode it. Live is great in terms of reactions as well. There's tons of reactions that happen from people as they're watching live video. But just to get back to like the more things change, the more they stay the same. I love this Chevy ad, for when Prince died. And here it is, a social post. It's on Facebook. This is very modern. Everyone's reacting to it, and it reminded me of an ad that was 20 years old, which was when Jerry Garcia died, that Volkswagen did. Now, I don't know how fast Volkswagen was able to get that ad out. I don't know what the process was, but it's incredible just to see that like ideas are always going to be ideas, and we're trying to connect with people around our brands. And really the technology that it added here was like you were able to get it up quicker. You were able to distribute it at scale instantly, and that was something special. The other thing as I started was, and getting really swept up by technology and the technical, and I was sitting next to a guy who was, doing some animation, was that like really what we are best at, what creative people in advertising should be best at, is creating emotion, getting people to feel or to laugh, getting a reaction out of them. Bob Dylan, I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan. He's not a technically great singer by any means, nor are the Sex Pistols, but they've always managed to get people to feel and to think and to rise up and to stand for something. And that's ultimately what we do. We shouldn't get lost in the technology. I mean, even if you look over here and you think about Finding Nemo or Planet of the Apes, ultimately, did you cry in Finding Nemo? Did you feel for that ape? And the technology is there to help and augment, but don't get trapped. Don't get trapped in that. Stay focused on the idea. This was another big thing as I was thinking about joining Facebook. That creative culture and engineering culture have a lot in common. And this was pretty surprising to me. It was the question that people would ask me, well, what about Facebook? Do they have a creative culture? What's it like over there? And the reality is engineers obviously they're doers and they're makers, and they're constantly doing and producing and pushing code and all these sorts of things. And it was fascinating to see the real parallels. This was one of the first signs that I saw when I walked in. What would you do if you weren't afraid? That was a great sort of wake-up call. But to the risks that we need to be taking as marketers and as advertisers and as communicators, what would we be saying if we weren't afraid? Now, I would actually do American Idol, so I'm kind of like lame standing up here if I wasn't afraid. But anyway, I had to admit that. That was the second thing I was afraid of, admitting that I would do that. Anyway, code wins arguments. Like, this was one that I found. I don't know if many people have seen this one. There's a lot of these at Facebook, but code wins arguments was one that stuck with me because, at Crispin we always comped all the time. We comped everything like super tight, and people are like, do we really need to? Can we just explain it? And will that get the idea across? And the reality was like, yeah, you can explain it, but they probably won't understand it. They certainly won't feel it. They won't believe it, or they won't know if they should believe it or not, and they won't be able to act on it. So while it wasn't really about winning arguments, the reality is if you build a prototype and let someone see it, then they can make the decision on their own. They can see what's going to happen. And that was something that I've always believed in the creative process, was to comp and let people understand how the work would feel when it happened. This is a great one, right when you walk in. To achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. That's Leonard Bernstein, and that's like, to me, this has been a huge part of what I've always thought about the creative process. There's certainly a side of things where creativity needs to be able to marinate and bubble up, but I always have thought of the creative process more like a volcano, that the pressure that builds and the tension that builds ultimately causes that explosion. And then on the back end, advertising, it's like the longer it sits around, the more likely it is to be killed or to die. And frankly, it should, because advertising isn't something that gets better with time. It really has a short shelf life. And so this poster really resonated to me, with me. So seeing all these things were really inspiring. The lockdowns that the engineers do around live reminded me like of pitch time, and when everyone comes together and like hunkers down to solve a problem in a very short time. Now that's sort of like every day at an advertising agency, but that's the sort of spirit I think that really gets things done in the world. Our best work is your work. At the Creative Shop, we exist to create lighthouse projects that show the vision for where the platform can go. And to do that, we collaborate with brands, businesses, agencies, clients, all of the above to try to make that happen. So ultimately, this is the reality. Our best work is your work. It's your work that's going to be on this platform. It's your work that's going to make people feel and react, and is going to change their day. My dream of working at Facebook really started with this notion that I could work at another agency and I could work with some more people that I love working with. But I've had such an amazing experience in this industry, getting to work with so many people and getting to know so many people. And I thought there's a real opportunity to working at Facebook that I could work with more people. So when I actually showed up, and on about my third day, I walked into what we call a hackathon, a creative hackathon that was happening. And we were working with all these different clients or working with all these different creatives. There were about 12 creative teams. Let's see if I got 12 creative teams that were working together. This one actually came from a hackathon on Instagram right before I got there. And this was done by Goodby Silverstein. And it was for Sonic. And they created square shakes for Instagram. And ultimately, you could order them at Coachella. And that was really cool. This was from the Canvas hackathon that happened. And this is from an agency called Africa that's actually in Brazil. I realize that's confusing. And they created this. It was for a financial brand called Itaú. And they really wanted to have an impact on literacy, or illiteracy, really. And what happened was they realized there was less reading happening. So what if we could use Canvas to make a multimedia type storybook and then push it to parents right at bedtime, so they'd have something right there in their hand, straight out of feed, that they could use to have that kind of engagement. But ultimately, all these were part of a hackathon. And to get there and to work with great creative directors and people that run agencies and all these creatives, and to see them all collaborating and working together, frankly, was incredible. They were giving feedback on each other's ideas. And it was the sort of experience that I always wanted to have in advertising. And so that kind of warmed my heart. Because a big one of I'll say things like mission or purpose, but I really want to be a positive unifying force in the industry. I think I'm in a lucky position to be able to do that. I mean, anybody you talk to, they're going to have some reason why the industry is totally doomed and completely screwed up and why it's all, messed up. And I want to be someone that helps to kind of put all that back together, whatever that is for whoever that is, and create just, make it a much better experience and keep making the great work that we're known for. I got to hear Lee Clow and Dan Wyden spoke, and Lee Clow, called out and said, you know what, let's have each other's backs. When people are trying and they're failing, let's judge them on what they're attempting and how brave they're being for that, rather than kind of kick them when they're down. And I think it's true. I think, the entire advertising community, it's a great time to be putting our egos aside and working together and just doing great work. These are 3 pieces that CPB did that I had the luck and the pleasure and joy to work on as well. They were 3 in the top 10 of Ad Age's 21st century, greatest ads of the 21st century. When I looked at the magazine when it came out, and of course I looked at the credits because I was like, is my name on there? But what the really cool part was, all these were done as collaborations. The Truth campaign was done with Arnold. The Subservient Chicken was done with Barbarian Group, and Small Business Saturday was done with Digitas and Facebook and many, many partners. And I thought, here is of all the work we've ever done, these are the 3 pieces that have been held up the most, and all of them were kind of extreme collaborative pieces of work. And I just thought that was something interesting that we should all, take and understand that, if you can get past the problems, the ego or the frustrations or why am I doing this? And I thought I was at this level, and we just kind of come together, we can create amazing work, and that's good for the industry, and it's good for all of us, really. There's more to this mobile thing than small screens. When I was in working in agency, it's constant. It was like every talk, every presentation would be like, mobile, the future is mobile. I just didn't understand what they were talking about. I didn't understand, how am I supposed to do advertising on mobile? All we thought was maybe we would make apps. So we were always, we tried to make apps for brands all the time because that was the only way that we could figure out how to get on mobile. So I just couldn't really see it. There's all these little tiny banner ads. But the data is sort of inarguable. I don't even know what this chart says, but I'm certain that it's impressive. Here's another one. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. This was one. Stop laughing. This was one that stopped me. It was like, 1 in 5 minutes on mobile is spent on Facebook and Instagram. That was kind of insane. And a report just came out that 50 minutes a day is spent on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. And so I started to get it at that point and realized that all these creative spaces that I was showing at the beginning are now available on, they're sitting right there on mobile. We have access to them. And so that's how we're going to advertise on mobile. So now the question is, well, what does that mean, mobile? If we've got all that stuff and we can do something with it. This I found on the internet. So I don't even know if this is true. This might be a joke. But 61% use their mobile phone in the bathroom, and 43% do it at least a few times a month. I thought that was interesting. Maybe no one else thought that was interesting. But it may be why phones are winding up in the toilet. I don't know. You don't get a lot of selfies on toilets, I guess I've noticed. But the interesting thing here is what are we doing about the fact that we have amazing ad spaces that are sitting in people's hands and that are following them around and going into experiencing all these kinds of moments? What do we want, what wants to happen in this moment? Maybe it's ridiculous, but it could be amazing. Here's one, the grocery store is such a huge opportunity. But what happens, what do we want to do in this space? Mobile in many ways is like digital, out of home. It's sitting in all these interesting locations, and now we have these creative spaces. What happens at the intersection of that, and what are we going to try to do there? This was a fun picture. I mean, it's like mobile's like, TV meets magazine. These sorts of shared experiences are happening on mobile. But are we rethinking any of the content that we're doing in the way that we create, understanding that it's going to be in these sorts of environments? I mean, what an honor, really, to be present maybe at this kind of intimate moment for someone. And what might you do there? What might they be more likely to cry about or laugh about, or what sort of interesting message are they open to in these moments? And so, to me, this was sort of what started to dawn on me as I saw the opportunity around creative spaces combining in mobile, and understanding that we have got so many great skills that started in so many media forms. They're really present here, just kind of augmented in an amazing way, and ripe for storytelling that's maybe a little bit more aware of where it is. Advertising is changing the world. Hopefully you already believe this, but if not, maybe consider it. I mean, a lot of times we all stand around and we go, it's just advertising, dude. I mean, whatever, it's not that important, The reality is I've always felt like advertising can have a higher calling. And even at its worst calling, it's helping people sell and buy and find brands. There's just so much opportunity in it. These days, the consumer's voice is just louder than ever. And advertisers, in my opinion, have no choice but to consider being meaningful. We say at Facebook, it's not about marketing to people, it's about marketing for people. And I think that this is something that is giving companies advantage. When you look at Fernando's presentation, they're really challenging things. This was just a quick slide that I put together because ultimately what brands need to do is they need to find the right cultural narrative for them and then tap into it. So, you think about a cultural narrative around women's issues, equality, and roles, and it's an excellent narrative for brands to really participate in. Brands should be looking for something to say that they stand for, they stand against. So, I mean, Dove, starting back in 2004, I think I probably started, really paying attention around 2006. You've got Thank You Mom, you've got cardstore.com with the world's toughest job, always. And then you've got Ariel, Share the Load. And then, we've got Secret doing work that talks about, wage equality for women. And not to mention Under Armour, I Will What I Want. The reality is this is the opportunity that exists for brands. And, that's what Fernando was in many ways speaking to. If we can find your cultural narrative and tap into it, advertising can and will have a powerful impact on sales, but also on impacting the world in super positive ways. The simple point of this slide, this is sort of the slide here, but is just to say that like advertising for people is cool, and these things that we're talking about, but it's really cool when it's at scale. I mean, there are 1.65 billion people on Facebook monthly. There's 1 billion people on Facebook daily. And 76% of the people in the US who use Facebook say they tend to discover the videos they watch on Facebook. So to launch your campaigns here and to begin this work for people here, or to find your way here, is like, it's the place to be, that is going to be receptive to that and to build on that and to act on that. And we've seen it time and time again. And just to stay on the charts for a second, I mean, the cool thing that I've gotten to see that I'm passionate about is like small businesses too. I mean, 80% of people on Facebook are connected to a business. They're connected to a business through their business page, and that's real interaction that's happening. People want to know these businesses. They want to connect with them. They're fascinated by it. And the other thing is 3 million businesses are advertising on Facebook. And the numbers are one thing, but to me, what's a big deal is like this is the sort of stuff that has the power to pull people up out of poverty. It has the power to redistribute the wealth as all these new businesses have this possibility around the democratization of advertising that exists on the platform. And so that really has the power to change the world. This is the Facebook mission, if you didn't have it memorized, to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. And, I feel great that I get to work at a company with a mission like this. It's very, exciting, and it feels great. But the reason it really feels great to me is that has everything to do with advertising. At a lot of places, advertising is maybe thought of as a necessary evil used to kind of fuel whatever other thing the business does. But, Facebook is a communication company, and, it's my job to make sure that people are connecting with businesses and that the relationship is open and that people are able to share and that happens. And so that's something that really fuels me. Ultimately, this is sort of what I've come to maybe after the 30 days, which is really maybe more like 40 days. But I want Facebook to be the place where agencies and brands make their most meaningful, useful, and valuable work. I think it's absolutely possible, and I want to be of service to you in any way that I can to break down any obstacles, whether that's around insights, whether that's around targeting, whether that's around understanding the technology that needs, whether it's around ideas. I'm happy to do that. But I think this is the opportunity, and I'm excited about it, and I hope you're excited about it. And so I'll give my little like, and that's it for me. Thanks for coming.